Okay, so did you have something that you wanted to say specifically, or you want me to just ask you questions?
Probably easier if you just start asking questions, and who knows what else
All right.
come up.
Then let's start with you saying your name and how long you've lived in Windsor, maybe where you live.
Name's Randall Graff. Go by Randy for the most part. I've lived in Windsor for basically 74 years tomorrow. And
Is it your birthday tomorrow?
yes,
All right.
yeah, I grew up here. My parents moved to Windsor in, I think, 1946, and I was born in 47. Father came down here to work at Pratt and Whitney after working at the Boston Naval Yard during the war. So I was the youngest of 4 kids, 3 older sisters. Pure hell. But
And where did you grow up?
I downsized and bought the house from my parents' estate. Bought my sisters out. I've lived in a number of places in town, so. But I've lived in Deerfield the longest.
And tell us a little bit about what your neighborhood was like when you were growing up.
It was a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Pretty much everybody knew everybody else. You know, went to Deerfield School. It was just around the corner, which was fine, other than my first traumatic day when I was going to kindergarten. It was a little traumatic. I was a traumatic young 4.5-year-old, I guess.
Why? How? You got to tell us why it was traumatic.
It's just I didn't know what to expect. Typical kid in the first day of school, I guess.
Even with 3 older sisters, they didn't tell you.
Oh, come on! They used to beat up on me. Don't. One of them still lives in town. Yeah. Just walked to school, Deerfield School. From year to year, classes didn't change much. You knew the kids. You knew all the good kids and the bad kids in the Deerfield area, and so it was good. One thing I remember now about going to Deerfield School, which is it's I guess maybe relevant given the pandemic we're in, and all the controversy over the vaccinations and whatever. We were just marched down to the cafeteria in the school and lined up for shots. Nobody asked the parents for permission or anything else for polio shots, the way it was done. And it's the only way they got rid of polio. And nobody thought anything about it then. And obviously it worked.
What did you think about it then?
I was just a kid who got in line and took the shot. No big deal.
It's like, okay, stick the needle.
Whatever. And so I went to Deerfield School, kindergarten through 6th grade.
And what did you do for fun when you were a little kid?
What did I do for fun? For the most part, after school, almost every day we'd go out and play sandlot football on a field that had rocks and glass and a tree as part of the goal line until it got dark. And, then you'd wander home for supper. But
Where was the field?
right at Deerfield School. Other than that, we'd wander down to Wilson to the Sugar Bowl and get a greasy cheeseburger occasion, or go to Sid's down there, which was the everything store, and sometimes get kicked out because he didn't like us looking around when we weren't buying anything. But we'd walk down or ride our bikes down there. Other times we'd go out and catch frogs and tadpoles in the swampy areas around the Deerfield section. One of them which was pretty much across the street from where I was, which is now part of the Deerfield Apartments. Or we'd go over to the old golf course, and that's where we went sliding in the wintertime. Other times we'd wander along the tracks all the way down to Loomis, and did that during one of the hurricanes. Everybody wondered where the hell we were. But yeah, it was we well, I played most nights. It's and you'd go over to a friend's house and no problem. Ride your bikes around town on the streets, and everybody pretty much knew everybody.
Did you play football or any other sports when you got to high school?
I did for part of 1 year, but no, not really.
Just like it growing up. Why was it only a partial year?
Well, it was the first year of football, and they had a minimum squad they could carry, unlike today where it's unlimited. So, very restricted budget that year. That was my junior year they started the football team. So.
And then what did you do for fun when you were a little older, when you were like in high school or after that?
Things I won't talk about. I don't know. Just to hang out, do things. Even played football, sandlot football, even through part of college. A bunch of us get together and play other teams from other towns. No equipment. Crazy. Couldn't do these things today. Can't play in your own neighborhood anymore, unfortunately. It's like the neighborhood I grew up in. I live there now, and I really don't know any of my neighbors now. I used to know all of them. It's turned over, which is unfortunate. It's not as intimate. You're not knowing your neighbors, and they come and go. It's changed a lot. What was the used to be the Deerfield Market? It was a food store. It's now a liquor store. And the Deerfield School is no longer there. Matter of fact, I was on the Board of Education when we voted to close it. I got grief for that, but it was the right thing to do at the time. And now what Deerfield's where the school is now a park, and that's good for the kids in the neighborhood. So.
You're a teacher?
I taught for a while, yeah. Windsor High School.
Oh, Windsor Locks, okay.
Yeah, I did my student teaching at Windsor High.
Oh, really? What did you teach?
History, social studies.
How was that doing your student teaching at your high school that you went to?
It was kind of strange. Some of the same teachers were there. Some of the teachers I had were my mentor teachers. The vice principal who disciplined us called my mother on me a few times. Was then the principal. And you got to know the teachers on a different level. It was it was a little different. When Steve teaching in the same school you went to. So.
You're probably not that much older than like.
No, I wasn't that much older than the students, which is always a little difficult at first. When you're only about 2 or 3 years older than some of the seniors, it's like you're almost gotta watch your boundaries. Type of thing, but it was good experience student teaching. And then I did a little teaching over in Windsor Locks before I went into the business world. But I've spent a lot of time since I came home from college involved in the community in one way or another. I guess I blame it on my high school physics teacher. He got me involved.
What was the teacher's name?
Everett Doe. He was friends with my mother. And he invited me to come to a Democratic function and encouraged me to speak up and run for the Board of Education. I was nervous wreck. I didn't know what I was doing. But I got elected. At the time, I was the youngest elected official in the state of Connecticut. I was 21. I guess you could be 18 now because you can be run for office at 18 now. You couldn't back then. And I served on the Board of Education.
How long?
That stint was 4 years. I had another 2-year stint later on. Then I served on the town council for 8 years.
For how many years?
8. So. And since then, I have served the town treasurer. I've been on the Economic Development Commission, Wilson Deerfield Advisory Commission, Capital Improvement Committee, to name a few.
What's the Wilson Deerfield Advisory?
Well, it has a strange history. It really was put together by the town council after the turbulent days of the I-91, 291 expansion, which was called the Berlin Wall dividing the town. Okay, and a group of people in the Oakland Hills and Deerfield were so much against it, and part of giving these people some a voice, they founded the Deerfield Wilson Advisory Committee. And it changed over the years. I served on it for a number of years. For a lot of years we had trouble getting a quorum, and I've dropped off of that since, even though I'm back in Deerfield. But I think some younger people more involved with what's going on in the community need to be involved. So, didn't need me, I've been around too long.
So were you on town council when the 291, all that
No. I wasn't at the council then. I was on council later.
how did that affect you where you were living? It's a little bit not where you live.
I guess I was torn. I was for and against it. I knew the need for the highway and everything, and the unfortunate thing with 291, they didn't build the whole thing, which would have been much better for the whole Hartford area. But I can remember when they first did it, Bissell Bridge had a toll. Doesn't anymore. But it's progress sometimes is both good and bad. And but most people have a tendency to resist change rather than to embrace it for the good it might be. So it's not here to be a philosopher. So it's
Did you know anybody who like had to lost their house or anything like that from building either highway? Did they have to tear down a lot of houses?
I don't remember. I know that part of the settlement was building the sound barrier, which I don't know how much good it does, but it's still there even though it's deteriorating. But that was part of the compromise, was building that. And one of the bad parts is that the effect of the highway has caused the problem at Clover Street Field School with flooding, and it was wet enough as it was, and now they've done some stuff to improve it recently. Hopefully it has. But so.
Well, did you want to see if any of these questions sparks anything, any memories? Did back to Windsor after you went to college?
No, I had no intention of coming back here.
What happened?
Well, I went to school in Virginia. I was gonna stay there, but it was the time of the Vietnam War and the draft, and where I was in Virginia, the numbers were not good for being drafted. They didn't have a large pool to choose from, whereas up here it was much better. So I came back here, and hoping to stay out of the draft. And I did until they had the lottery. It's the only lottery I ever won. I had the number 18. So, but I avoided the worst. I joined the National Guard. So,
got a good one. Windsor Lions Club and the involvement with the community.
That's a loaded question. Well, we are involved with the community. We give scholarships every year. We're up to 4 scholarships now, and do a lot of other things for the town in terms of helping the food and fuel bank and a lot of other civic activities. So it's yeah. What I served as president, 5 times? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How long have you been with the Lions Club?
About 35 years,
When
I
did you
think.
join?
Huh?
Why did you join in the first place?
Oh, I joined at the same time as Bill Chido. We were encouraged by Jack Waters, who was on the town council, and we were on the council with him. And so we joined, and been there ever since. So, but yeah, Everett Doe got me involved in politics. He also encouraged me to go to Trinity College to get my master's in education.
The mayor?
He was later mayor after teaching. Yeah, his son is still in town practicing law. So, oh, children. You want to know about children?
Yeah.
I have a daughter and 2 stepsons. Both stepsons graduated from Windsor High. There were first two males in the jazz show choir. The older one went to the Naval Academy and graduated from the Naval Academy. He's out in Paradise in San Diego. My daughter went through Windsor Schools, Oliver Ellsworth, and the high school. She now lives in Kansas with her 3 kids. She was my hippie daughter.
You ended up in Kansas, huh?
Yeah, that's a long story. But her daughter is sort of like her sort of a New World hippie, you know. But yeah. What else you want to know?
How was it sending your kids to some of the same schools you went to?
It wasn't bad. It was fine. I think they enjoyed their time at the high school. Both boys were involved with soccer and the jazz show choir. My daughter was on the softball team. She was a pitcher, starting pitcher for at least 2 years. Yeah, they did all right. Things have changed. After I retired from Northeast Utilities, I went back to the high school and monitored some classes to see if I want to go back to teaching. And my first reaction is, no way in hell. It's changed, so I just, I was away from it for so long, I didn't see myself being able to go back into it. And so I spent the last few years before I fully retired working at the probate court. So.
Were your kids were in school though when you were on this school board of ed?
Yes. If I remember correctly, even my daughter was I was still on the council when she was in high school, I think. I have to back, I can't remember. Too many years, come on. Get to 74, they all get compressed, you know, what year's which year. So, and I'm now involved with the Historical Society. And that's a new involvement. I was a history teacher. I majored in history, so I got involved, and I think it's a good organization, and hopefully want to see it thrive into the future. So, but no, I like Windsor. It's a nice community. It has changed over the years. It hasn't gotten as big as some of the surrounding communities. It's much more middle class than some, and you know, I think we are very lucky in respect to the fact that former town manager Albert Ilg, who I had my differences with, had the foresight of the Dale Hill Road industrial commercial area, and that's been the envy of many a town, and, which is good in terms of our tax base. But that's been good, and I think overall the community's a good community. It has changed like all communities have, and unfortunately it's not as freewheeling as it was when I was a kid. It was much easier times, I think, for kids growing up. We didn't have as many activities, but we, made our own fun interacting with each other constantly, not organized. There weren't as many organized sports like there are today for the kids. But you grew up in your neighborhood, you knew all the kids in your neighborhood, you played with the kids in your neighborhood, and, stayed out of trouble, got in trouble with the same kids, I think it was a good time. And the parents knew each other, so if they didn't know where you were, they knew who to call. So, yeah. I was one of the first students to go through L.P. Wilson when I was at junior high. I went through the first class, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I got a lot of memories around town. Worked on tobacco back in the day. What I started at 70 cents an hour. Had a paper route for years. Learned how to drive on my paper route. Sunday mornings, my mother would come out with the car, drive me around, and let me drive around the neighborhood afterward. Nobody was up, so it's no problem. So I learned how to drive. I think I don't have to worry. I think police aren't concerned about it now. It's so many years. But statute of limitations. That's what I was trying to think of. But no, so I got to know even more people in the neighborhood because they delivered the papers. Actually, a couple streets away from me, and I got to know those people, and it's much different today. Much different. Sometimes some of it's good, some of it's not so good. So.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down.
Whatever.
Whatever. And,
I didn't say any of the bad stuff, so.
well, the bad stuff too.
No, I didn't. Not the real bad stuff.